Well, the world of PLM is ever evolving. There's always the need to accommodate new regulations and changing business needs into PLM. This is a basic fact of life for us consultants.
Hello viewers, and welcome to PLM Uncovered, Insights from Industry Experts. Today, we have a distinguished panel of product lifecycle management experts with us who will share insights on the significant role that PLM software plays in both discrete and process industries. Our panel includes James from LeverX, Horst from CENIT, Thomas from Entity Data Business Solutions, and Matthias from Gramont. Welcome panelists. Jim, let's start with you. How does using PLM software accelerate time to market? And what are some of the intricacies when it comes to discrete and process industries?
Well, PLM certainly provides enhanced communication, collaboration, and visibility into the product create and change process, and drastically reduces the time to market. I think of PLM as the thread or integration layer that crosses and ties together all functional areas. Historically, we've had silos of information and serial process flows. In the past, we had silos of information, data that was thrown over the wall from one function to another. Engineers designed product, then a packet of information was given to a change administrator who sent the product create change data to different areas who worked on the information packet. Procurement started to look at sourcing raw materials or off-the-shelf components. Manufacturing began to look at tooling requirements and so on. Everything was done in a serial process flow without visibility across the entire supply chain. Unless you had an engineer who worked what I call the sneaker net, running around to all departments, giving them a heads up. But today's PLM systems allow us to compress the timeline to market by integrating functional areas with visibility into product development. Procurement can start sourcing long lead time items and validate regulatory information. Operations can validate any tooling requirements, and planners can start looking at schedules. Product management can share designs with customers using lightweight viewable models generated through connected CAD systems. It's all done in a parallel fashion with full visibility to the entire supply chain. Everyone is looking at the same data in real time. Also, these optimizations are true for both the discrete industry and the process industry. However, there are differences. In discrete manufacturing, you're typically managing complex multi-level BOMs with intricate structures. You may even utilize variant configuration for what I call same as except for products. CAD integration is a key component in the discrete world to manage product models and effectively integrate the information to downstream processes and users. In the process world, formulation and recipes are the core component versus a discrete BOM, and there are typically strict regulatory requirements that need to be managed. There are also manufacturing plant variables that need to be coordinated with operations based on threshold ranges defined in the recipe to ultimately produce the desired end product. But again, both discrete and process industries benefit by having improved communication and efficiency.
Well, that's really interesting, Jim. And Horst, what would you like to add to that?
First, I would agree to all what he just said. So what I would like to add, in the right hands, the concept of PLM is really a sharp knife to cut time-wasting activities. We often talk about technology, system architecture, and application functionalities. I'm convinced that today all leading PLM systems address these dimensions in a satisfying way. If the technology is available, the obvious question is, why do PLM projects fail in delivering the expected value? We observe the key reason in our PLM practice. A lot of PDM projects are called PLM. These projects often use PLM technology that was made for engineers and born in the CAX world. They focus on the engineering department, they are not anchored in the company's executive board, and they have a limited department budget. Don't get me wrong, these projects create results and benefits, but on the department level, not on the company level. There are two major challenges for product-driven companies. Make more competitive products and bring them to market faster. First part sounds like a typical product development task: make more competitive products. And it is true, there's a lot of product design and development work to do. Is a product with the best functionality automatically the most competitive product? There might be others with 80% of the functionality but 20% of the price point. They might have a better look and feel, or let's say it in modern language, they might create a better user experience. They might be better adapted to the local requirements, and so on and so on. So already in the product design phase, engineering should be embedded in the overall company's brain pool. Now let's assume we have a great product. How do we bring it to market? Is everybody in our extended enterprise prepared? Is the product designed for fast production? Did we think about the easiest and fastest manufacturing logistic, also in respect to the carbon footprint? Both aspects are key to be successful: competitiveness and speed. Well understood and orchestrated PLM projects focus on business process improvement. They build a solid foundation for digital data continuity along the entire value chain. They enable real concurrent engineering based on a trusted single source of data. And yes, with this, PLM is a clear enabler for faster time to market. Are there differences between discrete and process industries? Sure. It's like Jim mentioned, it makes a difference whether we handle the fully configured product structure of a car or the secret recipe of Coca-Cola. Are the things that I just mentioned valid for both industries? I believe yes.
Fantastic insights. Thanks, Jim and Horst. Now, I've always wondered, how does PLM software contribute to customer success? And how would you say the benefits of PLM differ between these process and discrete industry? Let's hear from Matthias.
Well, for me, that's kind of difficult to say, as we are a company that really specializes in the world of process industries and largely focused on their perspective. But while discrete industries are focused on materials and bombs and very much focused on that, we have the specification and recipe objects that have an excellent standard delivery for the chemical industries, but can be completely freely configured to match exactly whatever scenario you're looking for, whether that is life science, pharmaceuticals, or food, beverage, or something else entirely. Customers are often happy to see that their needs to enter data can be quite easily addressed, depending on what legacy solution they are coming from. Translatable text, units conversions, or having multiple sets of values for one piece of information. Things that really appear simple to us can be very exciting things. But I think the real beauty of it lies in the possibilities for integration. PLM runs on the S4 core, so we have direct access to read or write data into other SAP modules without the need for complex middleware software. Generally, data can be distributed to pretty much anywhere in S4 itself. Most importantly, that's traditionally MM, SD, and QM modules, but also, of course, into the new SAP EPD and, of course, third-party systems. At first glance, process and discrete industries seem very different, and while they in fact operate with different objects, there's great similarities too. For example, SAP's new Build Work Zone allows us to integrate various applications under one portal. PLM or EPD applications from other SAP modules, third-party systems are presented in a single point of entry for users. So oftentimes users won't even notice that they are operating on different systems, which is of course a great experience if they are used to a rather disconnected mess of user experiences and different systems. The new collaboration in EPD can really be integrated with specifications and the objects typically used in discrete industries as well. It also comes with a document management feature that is of course equally relevant to both sectors as well. In collaborations, we can see the discrete and process worlds coming a little bit closer together by putting both things on equal ground and the same platform. So that's good news for us.
Excellent point, Matthias. Now, Thomas, what can you tell us from your experience?
Yeah, thank you. At Entity Data Business Solutions, our DNA is really to implement the full S/4HANA projects and implementation, both brownfield, greenfield, but of course also at the SAP Enterprise Product Development, PLM cloud products. But key success for these projects is really to understand the life cycle, the product life cycle. Whether that is engineer to aftermarket or recipe development to waste management, we really need to understand the different requirements in order to implement the right PLM functionality. But I think one thing that is common for both discrete and process industry is this need of consistent data, the availability of data, and I think that is really a key thing for our projects, to make sure that we have consistent data, reliable data, and consistent data throughout the life cycle. And I think maybe the most important thing here is to be able to share and reuse data, where we really need a strong engineering change process. We really need to be able to share the data with our business partners, whether that is recipe developers, suppliers, and so on. And this is where I really think there is some great potentials in the enterprise product development tool, for instance.
Continuing this exchange, thanks Thomas for sharing your views. I'm sure our viewers would love to hear some success stories where PLM software accelerated time to market and brought value to the customer. So let's start with Thomas. What can you tell us?
Yeah, to continue what I just told about sharing data, I think what we recently implemented the SAP Enterprise Product Development, the collaboration part of SAP Enterprise Product Development in the process industry. So of course, sharing data. In this case, it was collecting specifications from external suppliers, collecting documents, of course also specifying or filling out the different specifications from suppliers, and via this collaboration space in EPD, really collaborate with external business partner suppliers and internal recipe developers, approvers, and so on. And I must say I was really actually surprised about this, how this transparency of the workflow between external and internal person were actually, a great success to this customer, because we could really see that there was a much more effective workflow. So we got the specifications filled out much faster. Documents were shared and reviewed in a good way, and together with the built-in process visibility in enterprise product development, we were, able to actually see, okay, this user task is going okay, but here we maybe have an issue where we need to improve. So this transparency, I was really surprised about how, getting into this common collaboration space were bringing people together, and I think PLM is maybe really about people as well and processes, right? But bringing them together into this collaboration space, it really made a perfect synergy and really improved the process flow. Not just sending mails via Outlook and so on, So I was really surprised actually that it has this positive impact and synergy between doing collaborations with external business partners and suppliers and so on.
Thanks, really, Thomas. Like what you said about PLM bringing people and processes closer together, it's something I think really brings value to customers across industries, be it discrete or process. Let's now hear from Matthias.
SAP is sometimes looked down upon as a kind of a walled garden, but in reality it's very much possible to create custom tailored solutions that exactly match the respective customers' data and processes. These solutions can, of course, go well beyond any standard solution, which by very definition need to cater to all of SAP's customers across a wide range of industries. So a prime example of that is the workflow questionnaire which we have built for our customer Agrana Fruits. We have a video of that. The solution is directly tied into the new collaborations available in SAP EPD. From inside an EPD collaboration, one of several workflow questionnaires can be initiated. Each of them represents a specific process that can be launched from here. Scenarios range from new product development to new sourcing opportunities to material approvals, but it could really be anything. It asks the user for specific information, which is then used to maintain data on the specification directly. As you can see in the video, this can range from people to numbers, phrases, or even compositional information. In the process shown, this lets product developers know, and this allows product developers to let procurement know what exactly they are looking for in a raw material they desire. Ultimately, we collect everything in one place in the collaboration, which provides an extensive overview of the project the user is working on. Collaborations come with their own configurable status network, which aligns perfectly well with the header status concept in PLM's specification. So that's a great addition to that. At the time the specification comes into existence, we make sure that all required identifiers and inheritances are in place. Also, the specification is added to as a reference object onto the collaboration. This allows us then to directly open the specification from the collaboration and use it inside of our own workflows. This greatly reduces the number of orphan specifications in the system to close to 0. Nothing gets lost anymore. Also, depending on the choices the user has made, the appropriate process variant is picked and launched without the user having to worry about selecting the wrong thing or people to involve. Everything is exclusively based on the context the user is in. As the name collaboration implies, it is meant to be used by several users simultaneously. Having a good overview of what stage a process is in and which data has been maintained already is vital to that. We found that the collaboration and the underlying workflow engine are great tools to support exactly this. And looking at the roadmap laid out for EPD, we believe that there will be more features directly tying into this in the near future.
Well, like, as you mentioned, collaboration is something that is keeping the entire product development and bringing in the innovation, because when people come together, innovation spark. Jim, what can you tell us?
Well, we have a discrete customer, a global leader in advanced material science, who automated material master creation and extension within PLM. In the customer's initial PLM implementation, the focus was eliminating system silos and enabling collaboration while eradicating islands of information that caused errors and wasted time within the product development process. After successfully establishing a basic SAP PLM system, we then shifted our attention to accelerating new product launches by reducing the time required to create and extend material master data from days to minutes. In the new process, time reduction was achieved by implementing a rules-driven material creation process within PLM, and our customer implemented this new process across 15 plants, impacting over 100 users. The newly optimized process allows engineers to obtain a stub material number in SAP within seconds when necessary. This also streamlined the completion of the entire material master record, significantly reducing the time required, and also minimizes errors by ensuring that the correct individuals enter the right data at the appropriate time. Of course, this leads to a decentralized data creation model, and our customer automated the data creation in the decentralized manner, rendering centralized data entry a thing of the past. No more capturing data on a spreadsheet and doing a mass load. Our customer now operates within a parallel process with multiple functional areas actively involved in creating and enriching data. In summary, the optimized material creation process within PLM has achieved the following: automated the material master creation and extension process, previously time-consuming and prone to errors, reduced the time needed for material creation and facilitated the immediate rollout of data field changes across the organization through rule modifications, and incorporated data governance controls into the material master creation process.
Wow, that's really interesting to know about how the data control and governance can have really the impact and the need on a customer side, and how, like, the PLM systems can bring value to that. Horst, now let's get to know what you have to share with our viewers.
So we are totally focused on discrete manufacturing industries, and we are working basically for all segments and all sizes of companies. And everybody likes to talk about the large OEMs building planes and cars and whatever. The things that I mentioned before that are often misleading named, I would say, PDM projects that are named PLM projects. And this situation we find often in very large companies. So I picked a story from a customer, typical mid-sized one, and there are thousands and thousands and thousands of these small and mid-sized companies in the world. And especially in Germany, we find a lot of them being small, family-owned, and world market leader. And so we picked one. It's a company called Meyer & Key. It's family-owned business, 3 family members in this company running the company. And when we started talking, we found the typical environment of outdated systems, not connected systems, a lot of problems with the change process, transparency. They are building circular knitting machines. It's a complex machinery and highly individualized to customer needs. So they had to deal with variants, they had to deal with a lot of changes. And the sentence that I remember very well from Sebastian Meyer was, "This will kill our company if we don't do something." So we had a very fruitful first discussion, 1 hour, and then everything was clear. So we have to focus on process flow in this company. Yeah? We have to overcome this missing data integration, and we have to help them to come back to systems that they can release to really modern technologies. So we started with the full buy-in of the executive board, because it's a small company, family-owned, 3 people that we had to convince. We had exactly what we often don't have in other companies. Yeah? This executive support helping you to do the right things and get the right things done in such a company. So after 1 year, we were done with SAP ECTR, replacing the old external PDM solution, fully integrated CAD system. We were done with the implementation of a change process, running not just for the engineering change, but the whole change process along the entire value chain. We were able to collaborate, and this was exactly in the time when COVID started. So they were now able to collaborate from the home office environment. Sebastian told us in the end, if we wouldn't have done this before COVID, COVID would have killed the company, because they were not able to collaborate without being there before. So it was really a great success for them. And I think the major success, there are 2 major points today for them. One is they have full transparency what's happening in the company. And they didn't have that before. And the second is they have a trustful database, so they can run really concurrent engineering. We always talk about concurrent engineering, but if there is not a trusted database, nobody will really start to do something. And so it's more, I would say, kind of an academic discussion about concurrent engineering than a real existing benefit for the companies. So they are very satisfied with this, and we go on. And for sure, for them now, modern technologies like EPD are also key. We just, I think, 2 months ago, we came up with our first EPD add-on in the sub-store. And this addresses exactly this industrial equipment manufacturers, complex machineries, a lot of requirement documents they need to work on. So we help them with time to quote with this add-on. So there will be a lot of other things coming up with them in the future. But it's still a great success that we could reach with traditional things. ECTR, change process, no rocket science, but fully implemented with executive support. This was, I would say, the major reason why this was a great success.
Well, that was really interesting to hear, Horst, because I have also seen and observed this during COVID times, and how the entire industry took a shift, and people who were not ready to digitize their product development processes were kind of backed into the corner to do it. But now they realize that it has already brought value to their end-to-end processes, and listening to how the customer benefited from it, bringing in the transparency, and as you said, it's no rocket science. It's bringing the exact existing processes and systems together to build that digital thread to achieve an end-to-end transparency and product development efficiency. Thank you all for sharing your insightful perspectives. Before we sign off, any last thoughts on how the world of PLM is evolving and what can we expect in the coming months and years?
Well, the world of PLM is ever evolving. There's always the need to accommodate new regulations and changing business needs into PLM. This is a basic fact of life for us consultants, especially with long-time customers who have reached a stage where their PLM implementation is very mature. We see interesting ideas develop how to further optimize their business processes and how to use new and emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence. From a technologically perspective, there is a clear indication that SAP is very much committed to create cloud-based offerings for PLM. From what we can see, customers are very interested in that and are willing to follow and invest. Yes, this change is happening fast, and sometimes it can be tedious, but companies simply cannot afford to sleep on digitalization if they still want to be around in 10 years from now. We certainly see a push towards topics on sustainability. While a few years ago this was more or less an afterthought, it is quickly becoming more and more relevant. Product designers have to think about how to sustainably source their raw materials and how, of course, that should be put into products at a very early stage in the product development process. We're happy to provide a tool that is flexible enough to support all of that.
Thanks, Matthias. Thomas, what would you like to share with us?
I think PLM is maybe more relevant than ever. With the agenda of sustainability, digital supply chain, clean core, PLM in the cloud. I think it's really relevant, and also I think it's motivating. To be working with PLM, being part of this transition of transforming this maybe linear product lifecycle to be more circular. So I think there is really a high motivation at least from our company and from the rest of the panel I can hear about being part of this journey with PLM, and I think it's very motivating to make it more circular, implemented in the cloud and so on. So looking really forward to this in the future.
Thanks, Thomas. Jim, what do you have to share with us?
Well, I can't think of a time in my career where we were told that the world was changing. However, I think I can truly say that change is happening faster now than ever before. I think everybody else would agree with that. As far as technologies and platforms, again, I'll echo what everybody else said. PLM is aligning with the broader digitalization and Industry 4.0 trends. There's a continued push to move to the cloud, and certainly SAP is moving in that direction. Support for remote work as people move away from the office. The presentation platform and the user interface is becoming better and more intuitive. There's a growing emphasis on sustainability and product development. As far as adoption and management of change, companies need to continuously innovate and optimize business processes. You can't just implement and forget. And lastly, those that are agile and can embrace change will be survivors. Those that lead change will be the victors. And unfortunately, those who do not change will cease to exist.
Thank you, Jim. Horst, what can you tell us?
It's really now a tough undertaking to add something intelligent to all this PLM expert talks here. But first, I believe the understanding that PLM is a critical topic for the executive management will grow. We just heard sustainability and so on. So the balance sheet is obviously always owned by the executive board in the future. the balance sheet for the footprint will also be owned by the executive board. So that makes PLM even more important and puts it on the radar of the executive board. Second, the understanding that technology is available, a lot of technology, even more customers can consume. So the real challenge is in the future people and process change. So I think the understanding will grow for that. Third, I think the understanding for the power of PLM unleashed by SAP's end-of-the-earth platform will grow. Fourth, obviously artificial intelligence will play a major role for future PLM. I don't think we see a lot of use cases right now, but they will come in the future. And fifth, I think we all should keep our humor, because even with artificial intelligence, PLM projects will remain to be demanding for everybody.
I can echo that, because we have seen, like, we still have customers in the industry who are still digitizing their product development process and are still gaining value from existing PLM systems, bringing their data onto the single source of truth. And then with the advent of AI, yes, PLM continues to be demanding. We have covered a lot of ground today, from benefits of PLM in both discrete and process industries to challenges and its implementation. I want to thank our panelists for sharing their expert insights, and thank you, audience, for tuning into PLM Uncovered. We hope you found this discussion enlightening. Do share with us using the comments what are your thoughts and perspective on the topic. If you want to build a risk-resilient and sustainable supply chain that provides actionable information, supports product innovation, and empowers people, check out SAP PLM software. Take your design processes to a new level and connect extended enterprise to contextualize decisions and collaborate easier with the suppliers. Learn how closed feedback loop can accelerate innovation and explore the key role of product design in sustainability. It is your business, it is your choice. Until next time, thanks for watching.